This is Bob Friesen with EDL 856 Case Study Internet Abuse. Now, first of all, we have to find out what we know. And what we know is that Roosevelt High School is located in an affluent neighborhood, and students have access and knowledge of how to use some most of the high-tech information that is available. We know that Miss Walker, the teacher in the case, is in her second year of teaching. She teaches upper-level science classes and has very high expectations of her students, along with large amounts of workload. And we know that as her second year, she's still um, working on developing some better connections with her students and communicating with them. And parents and students have complained in the past about the course workload and also some of the instruction that they receive in the classroom. Ms. Walker received an email over the weekend from an unknown sender. We know that that email also sent her to another website, which basically criticized her and made suggestive comments about her personal life with vulgar language, and also complaints about her classroom, not only the amount of work but her teaching. And it ended with a statement that was rather threatening: who wants to see Miss Walker disappear? Now, what do we need to know? First of all, we need to know who the students in Miss Walker's classes are. And in those classes, who are those students that have had issues with misusing the internet? Maybe they've already had some problems and had the internet taken away. And then several things we want to know about those students. Are there some that are competing for valedictorian or salutatorian? And of those students, have there been some whose grades have dropped, especially in Miss Walker's class? And are of those students, again, are they taking advanced computer classes and would have the knowledge to be able to know how to send a email without tracking, and also a website? In our plan of action, number one is to contact the superintendent, make sure that they hear about this case from me. Number two, I would contact the district lawyer and see how this should be handled legally, and maybe possibly from that even contact local law enforcement, and contact the IT director. We need to begin to identify who is sending the email and designing the website, and obviously that IT director may also have some assistants, student assistants in school who may have the knowledge and skills needed to send that email and develop the website. And this goes along with ISLLC standard number 4, talking about collaborating with local authorities, obviously even within the school district, superintendent, and mobilizing those community resources and working together. Otherwise, the plan of action is to take action. Begin to take some precautions to make sure Ms. Walker feels safe entering the school and teaching during the day. Obtain a class roster for Ms. Walker's science courses and check for those failing grades. And bring in several students, find out if they knew anything about the email or website. And do that fairly quickly so that students that hear about it, it's not through rumor, it's obviously because they have firsthand knowledge. Strategies, obviously, is again contacting the superintendent and Board of Education lawyer, and possibly local law enforcement, contacting the IT director, and also maybe a fellow administrator or another science teacher who would maybe make sure they meet Miss Walker and walk her into school, check on her during the day and see how she's doing. Contact the school counselor and meet with her to review over the class roster and grades, and obviously begin the interview process with some students from her class. In resolving the issue, number one is making sure you continue to promote the success of all students based on the content of the email and the website. Those that are involved are obviously going to be in her science classes. But you don't want to make any accusations before you have the facts. And that includes the possibility of Randy Folk, who was mentioned by Ms. Walker, making sure that you don't start um, declaring him guilty before you found out the facts. And obviously, number three, the investigation shouldn't disrupt the rest of the school day. Obviously, not Mrs. Walker's classes, but also the rest of the school. And that goes along with ISLC standard number 6, promoting the success of all of those students and making sure you get in, especially in the larger legal context in this case, because they are using the internet. Now, thinking, first of all, my first thought was I should have done a better job preparing Miss Walker to be a more effective teacher, and especially in trying to develop relationships with her students. Whether that means being in her classroom more or working with her early in her last 2 years. Feeling especially concerned for Miss Walker's safety, and also how is she going to handle teaching in the classroom, knowing that one of her students has sent this? Is she going to be able to handle that situation professionally? And valuing, this is a serious incident, and it needs to be taken care of very quickly. But I also don't want to disrupt the rest of the school day with not only just her science classes, but the hallway, and before and after school. And there are some issues that are obviously unresolved. Number one, maybe this wasn't just one person, maybe this was several people, and it's something that we need to take into account. And how do we make sure that also Miss Walker's classroom continues to function? You know, she may feel obviously bad and maybe nervous in each class time, especially those first couple of days. And I want to make sure that those are issues that we take care of. And of course, one unresolved issue is the fact that the internet was used to send the email. It was obviously done, well, hopefully not done during school. But if it was done outside of school, you know, how much do we involve the local law enforcement? You know, it may be a more serious crime here to some degree. Now, as far as treating people fairly, number one, tried to listen to Miss Walker about the situation and immediately began to investigate the website, uh, giving her some maybe comfort in knowing that it's being taken care of. Meeting Miss Walker upon arriving at school, taking her into her classroom, making sure someone looks in on her classroom throughout the day. Those are good things. And I think as far as the students go and treating people fairly, conducting those interviews professionally, making sure I'm trying to collect information and evidence and not making any accusations before we have the facts. And within that, trying to act professionally and ethically, demonstrating that sense of integrity and ethical behavior. Number one, I supported Miss Walker very quickly by taking these attacks on her personal and professional life and the threat very seriously. And contacting superintendent, board of education, and possibly even local law enforcement, making sure that integrity, we're going to make sure that we stand behind Miss Walker in this and make sure she's able to still function. Acting with fairness, number one, collecting evidence, not just going around and accusing, but collecting evidence to make sure that we understand what's going on, not only from Ms. Walker, not only from the IT director, but also when we start to begin questioning students and bringing them in, making sure we handle that professionally as well. And so that's the resolution for EDL 856 case study.